Hello everyone, thank you for watching SalesBuildr TV. I'm here at CompTIA ChannelCon in Atlanta, and I'm here with Johnathan Schofield, aka Pirate Guy. And there's a reason he's Pirate Guy, and the reason I wanted to talk to you is because I think you have done the best job at this show of standing out, and it's been a pleasure chatting to you about why you do that and stuff. And I thought, right, you've got some expertise we need to share.
Yeah.
So come along, let's have a quick chat. So Johnathan, tell me about yourself quickly.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So yeah, hey, great to be here. My name's Johnathan Schofield. I'm the founder of ChannelFalcon, and won't do any pitching today, but we work with MSPs to help them meet new customers, and that's really what I do. And I practice what I preach.
Yes.
So, and you know, we're out in the trenches helping MSPs meet new folks, and so we do the same thing to meet new MSPs. And so, when I go to an event, it's all about earning the mental real estate of the prospect or your future customer, your future partner. And in my experience, the most direct path to earning mental real estate with your future customer, your future partner, somebody that you're trying to do business with, is through authentic, physical, human connection. So I don't know if any of you have seen the 1987 cult classic film, The Princess Bride. Some of you who have may appreciate the reference on my t-shirt here. That's an older movie nowadays.
Yeah, it's like 80s.
Late 80s.
Yeah,
Late 80s it came out, right? So there's a younger generation who has no idea what that movie is, unfortunately, but it still like holds up today. A lot of people know it.
So why have you been prancing around in a pirate's outfit?
So yeah, this week I was actually dressed as the Dread Pirate Roberts, which is why I've got this Amazon special rapier here. And not because the Dread Pirate Roberts or the Princess Bride really have anything to do with ChannelFalcon or what we do for partners, but it's like a creative way of starting a conversation. And some people are like, well, Johnathan, that movie came out in the late 80s. Why not choose...
Take some explanation.
Why don't you like choose something a little more current or a little more maybe relevant? And I'm like, okay, so actually, yeah, those who know the movie know it really well, and those who don't are going to come up to me, be like, Zorro? I got a lot of Zorro this week with the sword and the way I was dressed.
Why is that a good thing?
Because, listen, earning mental real estate of the prospect, authentic, physical, human connection, when you go to something like this, you want to talk to people, right? You want the opportunity to have that initial conversation. And just like when I make a cold call or when someone from my team makes a cold call, you want an emotional reaction in the first 30 seconds of your engagement, right? And even if it's like subconscious, right? So you want people to see you, to hear you, to have an impression in the first few moments of an engagement, and they feel something. Right, and we're okay. This is a technology convention. We're at CompTIA right now, so there's a lot of really smart people in this room that do really technical things. Can you have an emotional reaction to technical things? Sure, certainly can. And if you're passionate about it, if it's really relevant to who you are and what you do. But generally, like, we're all humans here. We're all humans here. We respond to really human things. How can you humanize technical stuff? It's like, well, you appeal to that sense of humanity in people.
Yeah.
And that's where, it might seem silly, right? You see me across the room and in my costume, I was like, and he's the only one here doing something like that.
Yeah, but you are in a sea of what is there? I mean, is there 1,000? Is there 1,000, or is it?
I'm not sure how many people are here.
There's a lot of booths here, and ours included. I don't think that. Well, I think there's more we could do to get that emotional reaction. They all look the same. There may be fantastic people behind the scenes, but look very similar.
Well, so I mean. Yeah, and I'm friends with a lot of the folks in this room, and they're doing incredible things for their partners, and their products and services are really, really incredible. But we all have the same challenge. It's like, how do we get that initial connection? So that is, whenever I make a decision related to sales, marketing, business development, channel, it's always filtered through that screen. It's like, is this going to help me facilitate authentic, physical, human connection? So if I'm going to send some emails to prospects or potential partners, if I'm going to leave a voicemail with a prospect or a potential partner, if I'm going to send them something in the mail, if I'm going to see them at a trade show, like, everything gets filtered through that screen. Is it going to help me do that? So is going to have a booth that looks like everybody else's going to help me facilitate authentic human connection? It can.
Kind of, but...
It can, but you have to be strategic in, like, all the details. And that can be the difference between having a great event, whether you're sponsoring a manufacturing association or a professional services organization where your IT business can showcase your products and services that you do for your customers, or whatever it might be. So that's why the sword. That's why the shirt.
How'd you get the conversation started? I'm just interested because I think people watching this will be thinking, yeah, okay, so I might have like a vertical show coming up, for example. Take the manufacturing example, and I'm gonna take your lead. I'm gonna have something quirky at my booth, but then how do you take it beyond that? Because I think you probably are pretty good at starting those conversations, getting it going. Is there any advice you can give around that? Because this might not come naturally to a lot of people watching.
Sure. So you don't have to be you don't have to be something you're not. In fact, I would say if you're not comfortable with it, or if you can't find a way to really
it's not the authentic bit you're looking for.
You're gonna come off creepy if you can't come off sincere, right? And if you can't be sincere, but you don't have to dress up like an idiot like I do to have authentic conversations with people, or to be creative to generate really meaningful moments with people. But I'd encourage you to think outside the box. So how does that transition from an emotional response into a meaningful conversation with the prospect? Well, what's been happening to this week for me at CompTIA is across the room, I'll make eye contact with an attendee, and they'll look at me, I'll look at them, and I'll just shamelessly walk up to them, and they don't know me, I don't know them, and I put my hand in front of their face and say, "Hi, I'm Johnathan." It's as simple as that. "Hi, I'm Johnathan," and the 9 times out of 10 they'll take my hand and they'll say, "Oh, I'm Chris, I'm Joe, I'm Evelyn," or whatever, right? And if it's like awkward and they're not really talking to me, it was like, okay, so I got to ask. Not everybody here knows what I'm dressed as, and I'm kind of polling the audience to see, like,
if you've got a conversation started.
Yeah, I was like, have you seen The Princess Bride? Do you even know what this is? Or who would you guess I am? And I'm getting a lot of Zorro, a lot of things that are not The Princess Bride. I'd be like, okay, no, not that. I can see why. Have you seen the? So now we're talking about a film that they may have some nostalgia associated with it. They have no idea what it is, and we're not talking about IT. We're not talking about sales or marketing or things. Then inevitably they ask me, "So why? Why are you doing this?" It's like, well, to be honest with you, I want an opportunity to have an authentic connection with you. And there's a lot of people in this room that want to talk to you, and you should talk to them. They're great people. But selfishly, I wanted to meet you, and we're talking now. It's like, oh, so what is it that you do? And that's the thing. It's like there's an implicit message you're saying. It's like, I do stuff. I'm not just a crazy person. I am a crazy person, maybe, but I'm not just a crazy person. So then their curiosity's piqued, and now they're asking me questions about me.
What other stuff have you done? I'm interested to know. So
other stuff that I've done?
Anything else that stands out in your mind is like, that was a killer idea. I mean, I don't believe this outfit was the first venture into this quirky approach.
So. The one that's sweetest in my memory is like the first time I really did something a little off the wall at a trade show. I was working for a particular vendor at the time before I started ChannelFalcon and did my own thing, but we paid a little extra with our sponsorship tier to make sure that we could leave something in the bag when you registered. So you get a little welcome kit when you registered for this particular event, and we decided we were going to take 3.5-inch floppy disks and put little stickers.
When was this?
This was 3 years ago.
Okay, right, cool.
4 years ago.
It's a nostalgia approach again.
Oh yeah. So there's 3.5-inch, and there were tons of different colors of them, right? So there's a yellow, red, white, black, blue, whatever. But there were stickers on that we put on the floppy disk, just like the old school labels of this is what's on this floppy disk, right? But it would say, "Where's Waldo?" Waldo's hanging out in this convention center this week.
You're the Where's Waldo guy. I saw those.
That was me.
I saw those. I did genuinely see that.
Oh my gosh!
I took a picture for our marketing team.
No way! I love it. Yeah. So but go find Waldo and give him this disc to be entered in for a chance to win whatever it was we were giving away at the time. And listen, I know on LinkedIn or wherever you're watching this, I'm a tall guy. I'm not a small person. It was the easiest game of Where's Waldo you ever played because the red and white stripes, the hat, and was carrying like a canvas bag to collect these floppy disks. And now all of a sudden the gamification was unique. The floppy disk was a conversation starter. You're hanging out with a bunch of IT folks and they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen a 3.5-inch floppy disk in a number of years. And then they would always ask me, it's like, so what's on it? I was like, oh, it's your complimentary malware, but you have to find something you can actually plug it into. So they're laughing, I'm laughing, and now we're talking, And what was great about it is like in a sea of literally thousands of prospects and potential partners, where so many solution providers or I should say vendors and solutions in the room are really trying to beg for the attention of that prospect, I found them flocking to me.
Coming easily, yeah.
They're coming to me now.
I've got to ask you, have you had any that have just completely bombed? Have they just been, have you been walking around in a funny suit and there's just been like people giving you
No,
strange looks?
I'm not saying everything I've tried has like sparkled and shone like Waldo did, but I think whatever you do with supreme confidence, and you will stumble into some version of success.
Yeah,
right. Whatever you do, just do and listen. Like for those of you who are like, I can never do that. You don't have to do that. But like the confidence piece is like whatever you do, think outside the box, even if it's just a little bit different, just different enough where someone does a double take or somebody raises an eyebrow. Once again, that's an emotional response.
Yeah.
That is the segue into the rational. They're not going to talk to you about technology until they feel a certain kind of way.
Love it.
Unless they're in the midst of some kind of crises and they're actually seeking you out because they legitimately need exactly what you do. But that's the needle in the haystack. And yeah, those needles you find and those needles will come. But if you really just look at, I want to connect with as many people as I can, have as many meaningful conversations as I can, step away from the technical for just a moment and think outside the box is like, well, how can I elicit an emotional reaction from somebody that's going to lead to a conversation that I wouldn't have otherwise had? Because listen, like event marketing is a really like a fine art. The devil is in the details. Sometimes you spend thousands of dollars to get in this room. To spend 3 days away from your family and away from your business, and we're all of us entrepreneurs for the most part, right? And so like there's some level of risk you take by doing this.
And some of it's out of your control, so you have to play the odds.
You got to optimize everything. And you got to come in with a plan. So some people think I just throw mashed potatoes against the wall, hope something sticks. It's like you see me do something at a show, the odds are there's been tremendous thought put into it before we do it. And you go with the plan. And so you do pregame, you go to the show, you come back, you do kind of like a post-mortem.
What will you do post-show with the leads that you've got? Do you have any particular secret sauce in terms of how you approach them? Or you just literally a case of just making sure you get in touch with them quickly after the show? Or how do you go about it?
Well, there's like 3 different stages, right? There's those that are just like curious, or they liked you and they're all about what you do, at least from like, I want to support these guys, or like, man, like they're cool cats, and so you can scan my badge or I'll enter your drawing or whatever. And those guys are probably not likely to be your future partner or your customer today, but you have earned some mental real estate, and those guys are in your, in time that can nurture and blossom into something else. I still will get on discovery calls, even though Waldo was like 3-4 years ago, and I'll be like, was that you were Waldo, weren't you? And they'll see they'll see 2 of those floppy disks. If you're ever on a Zoom call with me or a Teams meeting or whatnot, you'll see those floppy disks in my office right next to my face, and people sometimes like, wait, that. and like 3-4 years later, and they're like, I remember that. That's you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you can be quite proud. You can take pride in that for sure. I mean, that's not easy to do at a trade show when there's huge marketing budgets to spend.
And honestly, it didn't cost a lot. It was just required being a little vulnerable and having some confidence and doing something fun. But so that's the first level. Is like, maybe one day we'll work together, but probably not. But now you know about me, and now I know about you, and like knowing about each other is so much of it. So that's the first tier. The second tier is like, oh, this is really fascinating. I'm really invested in the idea that you have here. We're thinking about this in the next couple of months. Or it's like, we've got these other things going on, but everything you're talking about is really resonating with me as a potential partner, potential prospect, or whatever it might be. So I'm really glad that I stopped by. But we're not ready yet, but I definitely want to have a conversation soon. Let's stay connected. And so those are the guys that you're going to spend some time post-show making sure you maintain that connection, that real estate that you built, that mental real estate. And you're not going to do it like in an aggressive sales kind of way, like that stereotypical, like I'm going to flood your inbox.
What do you do? I'm interested to know. How do you go about that? Any tips around that?
So there's a bunch of different things we've tried and that we do try. I'm a big fan of like sending an email with a little video thank you or something creative in that video from me. It's like, hey, we connected, we talked, I really valued our time.
Just like a Loom or something like that.
If you can do it, a personalized video is even better, but if you come back from a Waldo experiment with 250 leads like we did, You can't.
A lot of video.
But that's where we go into that third tier, and that third tier are the ones is like, it is absolutely kismet that we met, and it couldn't have been more perfect timing, and we absolutely need this, and we need to talk right now.
Yeah.
It's like then ideally you're booking from that show, or you're even conducting your demo discovery call, that initial like step in the sales process. You might even do it at the event. Typically I try to get them scheduled while I'm there for the following week, or not farther out than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because if you schedule farther out than 2 weeks, there's a high chance that they won't show up, because that's too much time.
Yeah.
They've got businesses to run and things to do, and so it's pretty.
So you really get in there quick. Try week after.
And so you schedule meeting from a meeting, or if our first meeting is at the booth, and you really are. If it's really meant to be, why are we waiting? What doth hinder thou? Let's get on a call and let's do the thing. That's your third tier, and that's where personalization is everything, attention to detail is everything, and anything that you say you're going to do for a prospect or a partner, if you tell them at a show that you're going to send them this or do this for that or whatever, just make sure you do.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, it seems simple and obvious, but like if you say you're going to do a thing for a prospect or a potential partner or whatnot, follow through with it. You'd be amazed how much a little bit of consistency and attention to detail earns you in terms of mental real estate with who you're trying to work with and who you want to work with.
And it takes a little bit of organisation, but as you say, it's absolutely key. If you let them down on the first promise, then it's not a good sign for a future relationship.
The worst thing you can do is carve out some of your precious marketing dollars to stick a sign at an event, hang out your shingles, so to speak, and then you go and you don't have a plan, and you might even collect leads, right? But then the worst thing you can do is like just go back home and you put them in a spreadsheet, or you put them in the CRM, and then you do nothing with them.
Yeah.
As if the expectation was that they're supposed to facilitate that mental real estate building. And that's with cold calling, and I'm not saying necessarily do cold calling, but a lot of my background has been on the phones. Whenever I'm coaching business development reps on like ways to have meaningful conversations with people, I would say, there's that one time you talked to a stranger, whether you met them at a grocery store, you're standing in line at a fast food place or at the bank or wherever you might be, and you just fall into conversation with a stranger, right? And they got a really cool, charismatic vibe about them, and it's just like, it's effortless to talk to them even though you never knew them, right? You've all had that conversation with somebody that like, you walk away from that conversation, you're like, that was a joy.
Was easy.
That was even though whatever we talked about, like, I'm so glad that it's just this little slice of humanity blessed me with some of that time. And then with cold calling, every now and again, cold calling gets a bad rap because like, all the rejection and all of the people that are irate and don't want to talk to me and they're going to curse me out and all of this. Is the reality, most people are pretty okay. And then every now and again you find that gem of humanity that, you're a cold caller, and they treat you with mutual respect, and they're hilarious, and they're talking to you about everything, and you connect with them, and the prospect facilitated the connection. I'm like, in a BDR who's early on in their journey, right? That's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Because it's like after 100 no's, even if the guy didn't book a call with me, it was like he was nice to me, and it was fun to talk to him. And I was like, okay, so the way you feel right now, they facilitated a certain level of energy that you connected with, you found attractive, but that's not their job. They're the prospect. Right? You're the one who has to facilitate that connection. So like, you go to a show, you spend all this money, you spend all this time to like earn that mental real estate, and what are you doing? You're just like hoping the right person comes by your booth,
sat behind your table, and waiting.
You think they got a checkbook in their back pocket and they're like, here we go. And is that what you were expecting? Because that's not how it works. It never is how that works. So you have to be the one who brings that energy and that drive to the table. And it's attractive. People are like, and then I would say the last thing is consistency, right? Mental real estate is hard to earn, and it is easy to lose, right? So you can't just be a one-trick pony that does one thing one time and expect it to return dividends. You know, especially in today's day and age in the technology space and service provider space, you know, the buyers in the market are few. And not just the MSPs buying products and services, but especially people buying managed IT services and cybersecurity services from them. Like that, it's a very small, like less than 5% of that market is actively looking, right? And then there's a little larger percentage of people that might be open, right? So like if you just go to a show one time and you walk away disappointed, well, I didn't close anything out of this, right? And you're disappointed. It's like, wait, listen, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? So you gotta, this was one time. You gotta have a whole strategy that's like, you're gonna keep running. You don't run the first leg of the marathon and be like, I don't understand why I didn't cross the finish line yet. It's like, dude, no, you're just getting started. Give yourself some grace. But then consistently execute. And multi-channel approach, what I mean by that is it's not just the shows you go to, it's the calls you make, it's the things you email, it's wherever your prospect is, thou shalt also be. All right, that's another thing I say all the time.
But what I'm hearing though is it's very much about making sure you've got that. You said you started the whole thing with talking about the devil's in the detail, and the process behind it as well is absolutely critical to wring every last bit out of this crazy event experience.
Yeah, but listen, like you take time away from family and business to come do something like this, and then it's so easy to just go home and you fall back into all the things that you have to catch up on. You know, there's no business trip that goes unpunished, right?
Yeah.
You have, and if you're a business owner, business leader,
that's why the odds are stacked against you, right? Because you've also got that whole like, oh, now I've got to catch up. So to give the attention to the people that you've been speaking to at the show is actually a real conscious effort and a process behind it.
But it's just like why it's like a muscle that you have to exercise, because like if like it's going to take you a while for those muscles to develop. You know, you don't use that muscle, you will lose that muscle, and it's going to be really, really hard. But you get to a point where like, this is my process, this is the way, I'm going to do the thing now, right? It's like if you decide, I'm going to take up running, but you've not been running, and let's say you're unhealthy and out of shape, right? And it's like that first mile you're going to run, it'll probably take you 20 minutes or more to run that first mile.
That's your first half day at a show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably. I've got to get into the frame of mind. Maybe not for you, but I think for a lot of people it's like, okay, right, I need to get onto the plane that is get the sort of the booth time and the energy needed.
But even just your first show or event in general, if you've never done one, or if you're thinking about doing one, it's like your first push-up, if you've not been doing push-ups, sucks. Yeah. It hurts. It's just one, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do 100 of these. I can barely do one of these. And same thing with your first mile. It's going to take you really long. You're going to huff and you're going to puff. But the patterns of behavior that you discipline yourself to execute upon faithfully and consistently, and by degrees over time, you're not going to run a marathon your first day of training for a marathon, right? Typically. Or if you do, you're going to really pace yourself. It's going to take you all day. Yeah. You know? But one day, you're going to notice something, you know, and those little choices that you make consistently compound in terms of the benefit you get out of it. And one day it's going to feel like muscle memory. Yeah. This might surprise people who see me dressed like an idiot walking around, sticking my hand in people's face saying, hey, I'm Johnathan, let's talk. I'm actually an introvert. And people sometimes are surprised to hear me say that. It's like, but you go to all these shows and you like to speak at things, and you've got a background in theater, and it's like, and you're in sales, like literally everything you do is people around you. It's like, yeah, listen, when I go home today, after this is all done, I'm going to fall on my face in my bed, and I don't want to talk to anyone for the next like 48 hours.
Just totally spent.
I'm going to have to. My daughter's birthday is coming up.
I hear what you're saying. I think people can relate to that. I mean, it's the same for a lot of people.
Yeah. But so like, you see this persona of confidence and like loving people, and I am confident and I do love people, but they're muscles I've had to exercise so that now like it looks effortless to see an Olympic gold medalist run. Yeah. It looks effortless to them, right?
Just building those patterns.
But he wasn't always that way. She wasn't always that way. And it's just like you, but like don't say that, oh, I can't run. It's just, you know, you can run. It's like any other skill. You just gotta run.
You can run. You can, and you can do the events in this way. And I think, honestly, chatting to you has been totally inspirational. We're doing events, obviously, it's for a different reason, but both us, MSPs alike, all need to step up our game. So thank you so much for the tips, honestly. It's been an absolute
my pleasure, man.
We're definitely getting you on the podcast again.
I look forward to it. We'll see you all around.
All right, cheers.